It's showtime. What's up, everybody?
That's so funny.
Yeah, we're live, guys. This is going to be an exciting day for business owners and people who want to be business owners and people who want to be entrepreneurs. Welcome. Let's chit-chat it up, and hopefully some people will come in because I'm hoping we get some questions for you today,
Yep.
Mr. Nick.
Absolutely.
So
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, man.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's every month.
You're one of the first people I met when I actually moved here.
Really?
Yeah, because we only been here since I moved here January 4th of 2020.
Oh,
I haven't been here for that long.
You moved here during the thick of the pandemic?
We had moved.
Well, no, that was March 2020.
Yeah, but still, we had moved here and I was working for a practice, and then that practice was a very busy practice, and it was a motor vehicle accident practice. So during COVID, motor vehicle accidents went down over 90%. No one was driving.
Yeah.
So it's like revenue down, like plummeted. So yeah.
That's interesting. So like, I mean, you know, some of the best businesses are born through adversity.
More millionaires were made during the 1929 Great Depression than any other time in history.
Really?
Ever.
I believe it.
Ever. That's a very
when most people run for the hills, this guy's like, no big deal.
I'll work 4 jobs.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. For those of you joining us today, we got Dr. Nick Pannella here. We are bringing him on because we're going to talk about being an entrepreneur today and what it takes, and also what sacrifices you have to make. His name is Dr. Nick Pannella from New York. I'm sorry,
New Jersey. Same thing. Jersey, New York.
He's from New
Same
Jersey.
People.
His wife and him own Axon Health PC. What's the PC stand for?
It's a type. So when you're a lawyer or chiro, they like for you to be a professional corporation.
Okay.
From a not a filing standpoint, but a legal standpoint, because it gives you more liability for other people you hire. It's not so much for you, it's your employees where they do something wrong. That's why when you see these law offices, you'll see, Simmons and Brothers, PC.
I'm today years old learning this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure you two knew it, but
you don't really see PC outside of the medical professions or lawyers or accountants and stuff like that. You don't see it.
That's why you tuned in today to learn what PC is, guys. So anyhow, if you need an adjustment, this guy's a mobile chiropractor, him and his wife. So they come to you, and they're now in the phase of their business of hiring. It's been a couple of years, and so, but if you're looking for a good chiropractic care, Dr. Nick's the man. He's come to my house several times and does a great job. So we're going to talk to him today about some of the sacrifices he had to make in order to get through college and become the entrepreneur that he is today. And it's grimy. This guy's a worker. Like, everybody thinks it's a joy to be an entrepreneur, right? It's just running around and money's flying everywhere. Marcus?
No, it's not easy.
Yeah, well, another great quote of mine is, people they become entrepreneurs to think that they can boss people around until you really are a slave to your employees. Like you are, because if you treat them,
the truth.
If you treat them wrong, or you don't look at their values, you don't look at who they are, they leave you, and you have no business. And that's the truth.
I've had people say you don't have a boss. I'm like, I have hundreds of bosses.
Yeah. No, it's not
the clients, the employees. Yeah,
that's the social media boss, where people think, oh, I'm going to go. I always hear this because I know I was this. I'm going to go into business for myself. That way, I can do what I want to do when I want to do it.
I don't have time for you to adjust my back. I can do it at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm your boss.
When you only have 2 employees, like we do, when those employees, you respond because they're your only employees, so they know you have the time to answer them. They know you don't have 800 employees, with all sorts of different levels of like macro managing and micromanaging and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's a chess game.
This is going to be fun.
This is a chess game.
Yeah.
So let's start out with, I made the little topic sacrifice. What did you have to sacrifice to succeed is a vague question. So we're going to break it down to 2 sections.
Okay.
What did you have to sacrifice when you said you didn't go to college till you were 24?
I started UCF, University of Central Florida. I think I was 23 actually when I started. I was late. I wasn't 18 out of school.
So 18 to 23, you were figuring out life. You decided to sacrifice and because you had a dream, and so you started. So tell us, let's start there, and then we'll go into what did you have to sacrifice the last couple of years once you picked up the business and started that. We'll go into that in a little bit. But right now, let's start with the whole dream. How did this come? Because I wasn't like this at 24. At 24, I was still like, I don't know where I'm going to get my next 6-pack of beer.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to college. So like, for someone like you, it's very interesting. Like, what did you do? What light bulb clicked for you? Said, I gotta buckle down.
I never thought I would be a business owner, but I always knew I was different. Was always the DD. My roommates, I wish they could watch this. I'll have to send it to them. They love the party and they're great. One of them owns 2 bars downtown in Orlando, and he knows everyone in Orlando. But that wasn't me. Not the social aspect. I've always been good at talking to people, but I never wanted to go out to like 2:30 in the morning. Like I wanted to go to the gym or like feel healthy by 9 in the morning, not be smelling like Rebel Vodkas until 10 o'clock at night, which I've had my fair share of those, but I knew it wasn't for me. So I was always the DD. I always was first or second in class. Even when I was in Cairo school, the only other girl that used to beat me was this girl, Jenny. She was our valedictorian. So that goes to figure. It was her and then me. I would actually get to school when the teachers were getting there, and I would walk in and speak to one of the teachers, like before anyone else was there.
Yeah.
And then there was points in Cairo school where I knew I basically, in order to do everything I wanted to do, I had to get up at 3:50 in the morning. And Erica thought I was completely clinically nuts. And it's not something I explained.
At 24, you were getting up at 3:50.
No, this was 28.
Okay.
Still, I was in my 20s,
Mhm.
28. And I just knew that, and you can't explain that to anyone. Like another great quote is by Jay Cutler when he was Mr. Olympia for 4 years. He said, you can't teach training advice to anyone. Everyone thinks they know everything. Until they want to learn, until they want to apply it, they'll never do it. So when people ask me, which I get a lot, how do you wake up early? What motivates you to go to the gym? What motivates you to work a 90-hour work week and then hike a 14er?
Yeah.
I have no answer for them, because if there's whatever I say won't change your mind. It has to come from you. And that took me a long time. So in that time period, I knew that I just was crushing my classes. I had an easy major. I wasn't a chem major. I was an exercise science major, but it was still like, you had to still put some work in, but it was very easy. So I graduated with nearly a 4.0. And I said, do I want to be a physical therapist or a chiropractor? Nothing against physical therapy. As you and I know, I primarily practice physical therapy myself.
Yes, you do.
I do all rehab. I'm not like a typical chiro. Me and my wife aren't. We don't just adjust you and go home. I do a lot of exercises. I have some patients, I have an hour type of package where I train them in their house for an hour. So it's way more than just the adjustment, but that's a totally different story. And what happened was I went to shadow physical therapists. And I want to see if one of you can guess this. What's the biggest difference between a chiro and a physical therapist? And it's not about what they do.
Oh, I don't know.
What's the biggest difference between a chiropractor?
Insurance, maybe.
Nope. What do you think? And it's not about how they practice.
It's not about how they practice. Is it about one is
Let's see if you get
treating and one is preventing?
Nope. What do you think
No.
it is?
No idea.
How many private physical therapy business owners do you know?
Well,
2.
we have one that's
Two,
trying
yeah,
to join our
okay.
BNI group.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's new. Chiros have been small business owners since the start of the profession.
Wait,
Ah.
are you telling me you didn't want to have to educate a whole public?
No, I was saying that it's way easier to get off the ground as a chiro in a small business setting. Who are small business owners by design? Chiros and dentists,
Yeah.
not physical therapists. Physical
Right.
therapists get
They're
hired.
in the hospital.
Yes.
You
or-
go to the doctor,
or
you get referred to
outpatients.
one.
That's totally fine.
Mhm.
But anyone that knows me knows I think very oddly, probably because my ADHD and the way I view life and my other life experiences, I'm not bred to be that type of person.
Mhm.
I'm bred to work 13 hours, come home and have a business meeting when I'm tired. And Erica's like, let's have a business meeting. I'm like, I really don't want to, but I do it anyway because it's part of the purpose of my goals.
Yeah.
That's not for
Oh,
everyone.
that's good info. That's
Yeah.
good info.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference. It's changing because now I have like one of my friends, Michaela Foster. She's in BNI.
She's one
She's
of
in
them,
my
yeah.
group,
Yeah, okay, Michaela. Then you have my other friend Benji, and then another
I
kid.
love that guy too.
Physical therapists are branching out on their own, but they have a road ahead of them. Because what's the biggest change? It's not you, it's what the public perceives of you. So the public perceives physical therapists as this maintenance care. What do you mean maintenance care? Yeah, I'm coming to you. I'm going to rehab my ACL and go home and never see you again. So they have to educate them on why it's good to keep up with exercise. Why?
That's so interesting.
Oh, the biggest mistake business owners go into is not understanding, in my opinion, the value. You can have the best business idea on earth, but if your value doesn't produce a monetary gain, your business is worthless.
I think you know what though? That's where we were in the beginning.
Most
Auto broker, like we're like in the physical therapist realm. Everybody knows what a dealer is.
Exactly.
There's people like the majority of the world doesn't know what an auto broker is.
You have to break barriers, and some are easier than others. Like chiros are set up as small business owners. So it's more integrated into the minds of people that you see. As I said, physical therapy, it's getting there. But 10 years ago, forget it. Forget it. It was, and there wasn't a whole lot of mobile, and social media has changed the game for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's how basically my discipline because it's all discipline. It's not passion, it's discipline. Passion comes later. Everyone, we always talk about that, right? Oh, let's start
follow
your
your
job.
passion.
Be passion. Forget
if
that.
they're hiring.
Yeah. Passion is passion. Oh, I've worked on this for a long time and I'm really falling in love with processes about this. And it's not you enjoy everything. Like think
That's
about
what we talk about, Bonnie.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
we
that's
just made a video the other day talking about my buddy who has a huge following about motivation and why motivation is one of the smallest pieces of success. Motivation.
Oh, yeah.
This is not motivation. Ready? 4:30 in the morning. You went to sleep at midnight and you think, there's my alarm and I have to get up and do these things in my life. You're not motivated most of the time. You do it because it's what you have to do to reach your goals. And
discipline.
it's
Yeah.
discipline. It's all discipline and habits.
That's a great you repeat that.
So basically, this is the way I look at it. Whatever anyone thinks about him, this quote has stuck with me since I've seen it. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, said, "Passion is useless. I do things to fulfill my purpose and my needs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit there and think, this is going to be so much fun." He goes, now look, is closing a deal for $100 million fun? Yes.
Yeah.
But is calling and doing the paperwork and the meetings and the disagreements.
Ugh.
There's just, but the reason the problem the world is having today, I'm seeing with the younger generation, like we always talk about, is they've been lied to by marketing,
The
advertising.
glitz and the glam of the phone scrolling. Yeah.
It's the
It's
best.
fun. It's easy.
Another great quote. Richard Jeni, rest his soul, was one of my favorite comedians. He unfortunately took his life about 10 years ago. He said, marketing people are so good that they will convince you why you should smoke cigarettes. And then the next commercial is convince you why you should quit. Because that's how good marketers
Oh,
are.
my goodness.
I'm like, that is so true.
Yeah.
And once I got to Cairo school and I was away from some of the other distractions in my life, I had met Eric at this time, my discipline exploded. Like it exploded I was just unstoppable. Like I just couldn't, it didn't matter what the challenge was. I just did it. Many people have hard times in life and then other things go to the wayside. Nutrition, easy, right? You're busy. Let's get Wendy's every day. I've been there.
I'm there.
We all do it, right? It's so
Yeah.
easy. And it doesn't mean anything like inherently bad. It just kind of comes with entrepreneurship or just being in the working life. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. My father was a W-2 attorney, but sometimes they had long meetings or closing deals. He couldn't just be in the middle of a meeting and say, I got to go home and cook real quick. You just do what you do.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that many people are unwilling to sacrifice today. And I think it's why the work ethic is not the best.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. You're always a fascinating guy. This guy comes to my office about once a month and we have a sit down and we talk about business. So I wanted to bring him on. The other thing is his story it's just so refreshing to see someone of his age going through this journey. And I've been following him as he's been building his business and the sacrifices he's had to make. And us 2 and 3, we sit in the office and discuss these things.
Yeah.
What are we going to sacrifice this week? What do we have to do in order to move the bar down the field and then maybe fall in love with it along the way
And you
have some passion
it's a
for it.
natural thing. I think passion can, it's like we've talked about this. I read Stoicism every day of my life. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I just read The Lives of the Stoics, which is a book on 26 different Stoic philosophers from Zeno, the beginning, all the way up to Marcus Aurelius as the last good emperor. And when you try to force something too much, it's standing in a river and trying to say, stop to the river. The river doesn't listen to you. The river will run you over. So you can do things to set yourself up. But Ryan Holiday, who wrote the book, who's probably the most famous modern day Stoic, he, at the end of that book, on the last page, he literally was talking about people he's met through this journey, and he was mind blown. He said there's a group of senators that get together every morning and they sit down in the circle and they talk about stoicism and sacrifice.
Wow.
Every morning. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it, because you just don't see that thing. And this is the thing too. This is why it's so bad to judge a book by its cover. Let's say you see someone in the Senate. It's an easy example, right? And they have a totally different political view than you. It's so easy to say that person's dumb.
Or dismiss them. Yeah.
But you don't even know what they do in their day. Like, they have to get yelled at all day, or they're being screamed at. You know, and I try my best to dissociate between my biasm and just look at what they go through. Okay, this example most people don't like talking about. I don't care what anyone thinks about Joe Biden. He's not my favorite, but he's the president. Yeah. He doesn't just get to go like this. 9 a.m. I'm going to go to the golf course today.
Yeah.
No, every moment of his life is catered. And I don't care if it's a Democrat, Republican, conservative, or neutral. They all have that. And no one, it's so easy to dismiss the sacrifice. And another one, right? They look at someone, doesn't matter, it could be either three of you. They see you pulling up in your new car. We all know how this goes. Oh, you're so lucky.
Lucky.
You're lucky.
Seems like the harder I work, the
luckier I get. That's the best quote.
Yeah.
And I think this goes as a great transition. And just to talk about hardship, I think this is important. You know, as you know, my father died when I was about just entering clinic. And no, I was a year into school. Then my aunt died. So my mom lost her husband, her only sister, and then her dog, all in like 5 months, 6 months.
Wow.
So I went through all that. And I came back, was not in a good headspace, because I was your typical, like, bury it, don't even address it, you know. And then we're in class. I remember we were talking about, like, how to speak to people who are, like, you're co-managing with for, say, terminal illnesses. That happens. You know, we've had a couple patients now pass. And the whole class looked at me. We were back in school after, like, 8 days after my dad died. And I saw people just, like, looking at me. And I just was not even ready to be back. So that happened. We graduated. We moved out here. The job didn't pan out. And then we sat down and we said, what's our vision? So we had it kind of like, you know, this in the beginning, you don't really know your vision. You think you know your vision. And then it morphs in like 100 directions. Yeah. And then I worked Grubhub. And he knows this.
Well, this is segue into how we met. So then they come into my office talking about a car.
Yeah.
What should we do? I've got this GLX Volkswagen.
So someone referred me to you. I had moved here with my dad had died, and my mom said, "Hey, your dad had just bought this. It was a 2017 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition. It's paid off. Do you want it?" I said to my mom jokingly, "No, Mom, I don't want a car that's paid off." So of course I want this car. I'll take it. Yeah. So she gives it to me, and I'm like, "This is amazing." Drive it down here, sell it. Get some of that money, because that's when the as you remember, it was like prices.
The market's going up. Yeah,
55,000 miles on that Honda Ridgeline. I brought it there thinking that CarMax, I'm like 24 maybe. Comes back 30 grand. I said, wow. I'll take it.
And then you bought the GLX
and the GLI.
Yeah,
GLI. And then we put 12,000 of that money into the business, but it wasn't enough. And I met you. I was a referral to you because someone put another thought in my mind and said, man, you got to get yourself on a lease so you could capitalize on that other 10 grand. And now you'll have 25 grand to put in your business. And I remember saying, yeah, but I really like my GLI because it's fast.
He got the GLI because he wanted a sports car.
I wanted a sports car. So you remember I walk in.
Tell him the story. You sat down with me and what did I say to you?
Word for word. You said, here's the deal, right? How many people you said this to? No one ever listens. You said, you got to get into a lease, take that money, put it in your business. You're going to have all these, you know how it is.
Actually, I didn't say business. You two were talking about buying a house.
Oh, I thought we were at the time.
I said, you should take that money. Yes. You're going to probably get 15 grand and you should look at buying a house.
That's right. We did. That's right. I forgot about that. It was the house. And then, we talked about Volkswagens and Audis, right? Anything goes wrong, it costs you an arm and a leg. It's just the way it was. It's just how those Euros cars are. They can be expensive.
Over-engineered.
Oh, exactly. 100% over-engineered. That's amazing. So came back 3-4 days later, sat down in his office and said, gone.
Yeah, he sold it.
And I remember you just the way you looked to me, you're like, what do you mean? I said, it's gone. I said, we got the money. It's gone. And then this is when all the meltdown, this is what nobody wants to talk about. Coming home in my kitchen, doing the dishes, crying. And Erica saying, what's wrong? I said, we ain't going to be able to survive. We got no income. What are we going to do? This is the stuff that no one talks about.
Well, you took on a payment for the lease.
No,
and you
I
took
don't even mean
cash.
the car. I mean the business, the insurances, the rent. Like
You were just facing the spreadsheet of how we're going to
reality.
How we're going to make this happen.
Our overhead a month was like $5,500 after taxes just to live.
Mhm.
And I said, we got no income. We're fresh out of school. What are we going to do?
The job's tanking, and we're trying to build a business, and the pandemic's coming down the barrel.
Boom. So, and this is the things no one wants to talk about, right? They want all the easy stuff. And you can get there, but with work. So I did Grubhub 7 days a week, maybe took 2 days off in 18 months.
Pause. So, like, listen, guys, the Grubhub thing, very, very smart. But, you know, we said this earlier, the harder you work, the luckier you get. You had a vision, you had a dream. You're like, I'm going to do Grubhub. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit, but what happened to Grubhub during the pandemic?
Expanded.
It went through the freaking roof.
And remember, gas
We
at
are
that time
all
was like
used-
190.
We're all used to getting stuff delivered to us now,
Yeah.
especially food,
Yeah.
which you couldn't have picked a better time.
The holidays are my favorite. I didn't want to take it from this one guy. It was Christmas. Was up in the Broadmoor area. He comes out. He already left me like a $38 tip. He comes out and he's like, take this 50. I said, I don't need your $50.
It's holidays.
He said, no, man. You're on Christmas. It's Christmas dinner. Why aren't you with your family?
Yeah.
And I literally said something like, it's a long story, but I'm building a business.
Yeah.
And but that's only a piece of it. Remember, Grubhub 18 months straight, worked at Red Robin 4 days a week. So would you
I didn't even know that you were doing that. You were working there?
I left Red Robin at 8 o'clock at night and would go do Grubhub for 2 hours.
Mhm.
I would be going home. I'm done.
When did you do the adjustments?
Whenever I could. Whenever I wasn't working Cairo and building that, I was doing something like maybe I had an hour, go do some Grubhub. And then remember this, I was making content for my buddy's YouTube channel. I've made at least 500 YouTube videos in the last 18 months.
The thing about it, guys, is you're talking about discipline again. He said this earlier. None of this stuff is because he was so highly motivated.
No.
But, you know, I got an hour, I can go pick up $50. Why? Because I'm disciplined enough to try and get my business off the ground.
Yeah.
By the way, he's not Grubhubbing anymore.
Yeah, no.
But this is like, you're watching this happen. Like, he's like, I don't know how I'm going to make it, Ronnie. Like, man, you got to keep Grubhubbing. He keeps Grubhubbing.
And this mistake, I think many business owners make, and I almost made it myself. I was like, at this level of income through Axon, where I said, oh, I'm good. I can wash. No. You need to make sure month after month that business is semi-repeatable before the Grubhub goes.
Mm.
So now and I actually warned Erica of this. I said, we're going to get to this midway point where the two of them are going to be colliding because we're going to be really busy with Axon, but we can't give up Grubhub yet.
Yeah.
And we're going to go clinically insane.
Yeah.
I actually said those words to her, and it happened. It literally was so bad. It wasn't bad in the sense, it just wasn't. It was very hard to stay even disciplined because I'm talking 4:30 a.m. till midnight
Mhm.
every single day doing something.
Yeah. How much do you want it? How much do you want it?
Yeah.
You know, they hear this story about Michael Jordan and how many hours. Kobe is a good example. Kobe Bryant, how many hours he practiced, how much he went through to win all those championships. And it's easy to tell that story because we all relate to it. We watched it happen on TV. We like cheering for him. He's our hero.
Yes.
But this guy and you are in the same boat. Like, you're building something and the universe is going to test you.
And the comfort, I think, is like, this is the new thing, right? Ray Dalio, who I always speak about, my buddy introduced me to him. I love Ray Dalio. He's very he's the most stoic $27 billion person I've ever heard speak. So he has this book called Principles. Have you ever heard of that book?
Yes, he's got a lot of videos that I've been following lately.
So
too.
Principles is one of I haven't read it, but P. Diddy was with him and said, why did you make this book?
Yeah.
And he said, there's basically 3 stages in life. Stage 1 is where you're learning from other people. Stage 2 is where you're basically learning on your own. And stage 3 is where you're taking both those. And he goes, you're teaching other people those 2 stages. And I think the hardest thing for me was, and I think for all of us, when things are going well, what do people do with the stock market? Tesla. Let's use Tesla. Bullhorn going up, up, up. They buy up here. And they're like,
They always do.
and then they sell when it goes down. So they just bought high and sold low. I don't know much, but I know that's enough to know that that's different than what they tell you.
Yeah, other
And
way
people
around.
do the same thing with business. Once they get comfortable, foot off the gas.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with comfort. But Erica said to me, I was a little bit hesitant about this hiring process. And she called me out. My wife, she calls me out quick. She said, you are comfortable. She said, you've done this for the last 2 years. You finally got to this point where the business is doing very well and you don't want to grow again in that new growing.
It's scary as you're leveling up.
Yeah.
You're
leveling up.
And that what Ray Dalio said is, which is perfect. Life is a series of frustrations.
Yeah.
Frustration.
And those who tolerate the most make the most money.
Yeah. He got asked again. Doesn't matter what you think about him. I don't care what anyone says. Just a quote from a guy. Donald Trump got asked why he could do what he does. He just simply said this. He goes, I can handle a lot of pressure. That's no matter what your political belief is. You being attacked in the media all the time. Who cares if he was handed things?
Yeah.
I know many people who were handed things and amounted to nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I love when people say that to me. Oh, he was handed everything. I can find you 100 other cases of people who were handed more and achieved zero.
Yeah.
So come on. He might have had some things easier, but he still had to learn along the way. And this has removed Donald Trump. This could be John Simmons or Sally, Shirt, whoever it is. One person I would love to listen to is Spanx, is the owner of Spanx.
Oh, she's awesome.
She's a billionaire, and her husband's Jesse Itzel, whatever his name was. He's a very unique guy. He went live with monks for 6 weeks. Then he had David Goggins come live at his house for a month.
Oh, that's
yeah. He said Goggins was
individual.
waking him up at 3 a.m. He was sleeping in his wife. Imagine this: you're asleep with your partner. He comes in at 3 a.m. He says,
embrace the suck. It's time to go.
Wake up now. And he's like, getting me. We're running 4 miles in -5 degree weather.
Wow.
But all these things, he goes, even for someone who has a net worth, his own net worth of $200 million, he said on Joe Rogan, I just was in a comfort spot.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you this, when it gets real dangerous, when you have a net worth of $200 million and you get real comfortable, that's when your addictions can set in. That's when your spending habits can go crazy. And I think money is the best thing ever. It lets you help people. You can be, give to charities. But if you are naive about that and you have a tendency to be stupid with your money before you learn, like if you would have given me that $200 million at 24 years old, I would have spent it in 1 year. I know it.
That's because he's always asking me about another sports car too. So we'll one day get a sports car. We'll get
At least
$150,000.
I had the discipline now to. Those aren't even in my vision
Right now today, but you know what? They're good little things. There's nothing wrong with it either. You want to get one? Well, he's going to get one.
I tell people, spend the money. It's your money. You made it.
Bonnie wants a Cadillac Lyric.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like we got some people putting some comments in here. Let's see. We've got. There's a doctor there, MD Sabir Hossein.
Hey, there we go.
Nice gossip. I don't know what that means. Maybe elaborate on that, and we could bring Nick in to talk about it. So, next thing, thank you for sharing your sacrifices. What advice do you have for the new entrepreneur, the new people you see coming up? Because you're an old guy now.
Any profession, like anything, it doesn't
any
really
profession, like to paint the picture that they're looking at. It's easy to be an entrepreneur.
Well, there's always these great quotes that we all hear on social media, but some of them really do have value. You sacrifice today what you want for tomorrow. Simple things like that. My mom, this was a big one my mom instilled in me, and I didn't want to listen. My mom would say, you need to make sure you are at least having fun. Because for the first 9 months of that 18 months, I was like, I'm not doing anything for myself. And my mom said, that is not healthy. You could still do what you're doing and take some time for yourself. Hard to make that switch at times. Because then you're like, I'm at 11 Mile State Park, throwing a fishing rod, and I'm like, I wonder what the business is doing right now. Doing all sorts of stuff like that.
I don't think that ever stops.
Never. No, it's a full acceptance of what has to happen.
I think about it on the jet ski.
Literally, when I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking I wonder what's going on with this. I wonder what's going on with this. I was like, what am I going to have to do when I get back as soon as I get back? Your mind really never stops.
This is a cultural thing of America, right? Because this is just for Axon, but I have another business on the side, which which is a coaching business where I speak to 30, 50, 60 countries a week.
Mm-hmm.
Today I spoke to Holland. Who else did I speak to? Holland. And then I just spoke to Oklahoma in the parking lot for 40 minutes. So I speak all over the place. I'm speaking to Pakistan, China, Australia, all over. Well, I was speaking to this guy named Francesco, I think that's who his name was, in Italy. And we were making some jokes about mindfulness. And he just said it straight out. He said, what an American viewpoint. I said, what do you mean? He said, you guys are obsessed with working. And that's when it hit me. I said, this culture that we have is not the same in other countries. And that's something I kind of realized myself. And that's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of how they've been bred. A lot of other countries, being a homeowner isn't the goal. It isn't to be the goal.
They can own homes in certain countries.
That and just like in Rome, like Erica's been to Rome. I have other family members who have been to Italy. A lot of people, they don't own there. They rent and they don't work a whole lot. Or my buddy who's from Colombia with siesta, they go home 2 hours during the day and the whole town
That's the
shuts
thing
down.
that's shifting, though. You know, like the new entrepreneurs and like people his age, us, Bonnie, we're on this side. Elder statesmen,
Middle-aged people.
middle-aged people.
That's right.
But the young people are talking about being portable, not tied down. You know, they want to have good income, but they want to be able to pick up and go.
But there's a pro and con with that. And this is what I'll throw back at you. Yes, that is what they want. But they also look at it very unrealistically. And what do I mean by that? Hi, my name is Jim. I'm at a school. I want to make $150,000 a year. I want to work 3 days a week. And by the way, I want
3 day work week, 10 fairs.
Full benefits,
Yeah.
full benefits, and all this. I got news for you. This is the wrong era for that dream.
Yeah.
That dream was, guess what? 1930, Salem, Oregon, when a house cost $8,800 and your salary was $11,000. Guess what, buddy? That statistic today, that means that same person would need to make $400,000 as working at auto parts USA to do that. It's the wrong time. And the key about life and with stoicism is accepting the current position of society. So that could be your goal, but I got news for you. It ain't reality. Reality is you got to work. You got to sacrifice.
You can achieve that goal.
100%, but not how TikTok, the 17-year-old girl on the beach who said Indian style, who's never been in a relationship, is saying, this is the best relationship on marriage. And you're like, you're in high school. You know, but we all did it. We were all young and we all thought we knew everything. And it's just funny now that we're a little bit older, right?
So what's the point? Give them a bullet point of advice you would give your younger self. Like 4 years ago, what would you do differently?
I'm sitting across from me right now. Drop the video games. Go. Bye. Your life.
Don't play at all. Like,
just drop them. Okay. I don't care. I don't mean forever. I mean, if you really have a goal and you want to get towards it, gone for now doesn't mean gone forever.
I've lost like 2 or 3 years in video games personally.
Gone for now doesn't mean gone forever.
When I do the best is when I put them down. When I put them down, I'm really focused.
Trust me, there's another conversation 15 years from now when it's much more substantiated. Video game addiction will be a full-blown thing. Yeah. It will be full-blown, just like social media addiction. The good thing is they don't kill you like if you're doing a hard drug. That's why people don't think society.
Well, they slowly kill you, though.
They slowly kill you. But
I always tell people the stronger my character gets in game, the weaker I get. the faster you can drive around that racetrack, the slower you can get up and go to the bathroom. Because you've been sitting there for 18 hours.
You want to know how I can disprove the whole video game thing in one sentence? And I don't think anyone would say yes if they truly answered this truthfully. Are you going to be sitting on your deathbed when you're 90 years old and have this thought? I'm so happy I played all those video games. The answer is no. It never will be. Let's be very real.
I mean, maybe the question, like, I would like to die and be plugged into the video game.
Video games are
and
awesome.
Just drift off.
Just be submersed.
I love video games. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you.
So that's the advice. Yeah. Put the video games down.
For now, okay?
For now.
We're going to start with simple habits. Learn how to balance social media. If you're going to use it for business. Use it for marketing. I'm not saying don't check up on your friends. That's great. But you don't.
I hear that. Use it for business.
For business. Balance it. Balance and moderation is key. I don't care what your business is. Get yourself an attorney. Get yourself a CPA. You're not an accountant and you don't know what you're doing.
Stop stepping over $5 to pick up a dollar.
Exactly.
Stop going to TurboTax.
Exactly. Well, I'm just saying you got to make the sacrifices that you don't want to make. Become in love with Excel spreadsheet. Track your numbers.
Hire somebody earlier.
I don't know. Yes, but I don't know if that's what I would have done. I think like right now, I'm just talking about like the internal network of like how to build habits. Realize you're not going to feel great all the time. You're not supposed to feel happy all the time.
I got a challenging one for you that goes along the advice thing.
Okay.
About the employee thing.
Uh-huh.
I think it's so being just a little bit on a different journey, but a little bit further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I've learned and advice I give myself is always be hiring. You think you get the Marcus and he's perfect and everything's done good. We're going off to what do people say to me? This is the last car I'm going to buy. This is it. Last car I'm going to buy. Well, you know what? Marcus might want to go play lacrosse in Europe one day and leave after he built a book of business. And I'm sitting there like, damn, I thought we were going to sail off into the sunset. What do I do then? Then I got to start over. So like, it's like constantly, it's this constant machine.
Yeah. No, there's major truth in that. I mean, there's no right or wrong in that. It's just about what the person's vision is and then how fast you want to do that. So I think there's not a right answer to that. I think it's a great question.
It also helps you get good at it. Like these guys are constantly, they're laughing. So they're constantly watching me hire.
Yeah.
What you learned this time, Ronnie? And they just corner me and what's going on.
It's one of those.
And we share it. I talked to him about it.
Yeah. And like even me hiring my first employee.
He's hired someone here now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting process to like, especially the interview process. Like as a 24-year-old, when I first started, even BNI, like when I started going to BNI, I'm like, none of these people are going to respect me. I'm too young. But it's.
Oh, but then they were like, well, they know me. You'll be fine. And then what did he say to me? I don't want to be known as Ronnie's sidekick.
No.
And I stopped. I was like, okay, go for it. And now he's produced his own area. Like they love this guy.
Yeah, I think that's a great part of it. I think you're completely right. The thing I would add to the other, though, real quick, the internal part is theory without application is useless.
You mean just continuously dreaming?
Not even just dreaming. How many people live their entire life off reading articles about health, about the new best thing, but they don't change anything about who they are? Okay,
yeah, like that totally makes sense.
You can read whatever. You and I both avid readers. I love reading. I read every day. That could be useless to me. Why would I read a Stoicism book if I'm not going to practice Stoicism? Why would I not read a book about religion if I'm not going to practice being a better person?
It seems
practice acceptance.
We get stuck in our own heads. It's like I read it, but I like doing it this way, but this way's not working.
Well, you know why?
Well, this way's not working. And and you have this internal struggle.
This is not discomfort. This is why. Even for someone like me. Let's say I like using these examples because they really make people think. Let's say I was a full-blown Catholic and I want to learn more about the Jewish faith. Just reading, the Testament, that's not
You're
hard.
in Bonnie's realm.
You're just reading. The hard thing is is putting it into practice.
It's putting it into practice.
Well, she does
Understanding
that,
what it really means. Yeah.
Yes, but and that's the thing. Many people don't. And forget the religion. I just use that as an example. I'm talking about business. Go ahead. Read every book by Tony Robbins.
Everybody said they read Blue Ocean and all this stuff and everything.
Read it.
But nobody wants to practice it.
Yeah.
They just want to read it and say they read it.
Yes.
And throw out quotes to make it seem like they're smart, but
they're not doing anything about it.
I have a buddy who's been sober for over 10 years now from opioids. He's one of my best friends. His name is Kirk. They say the 10-year recovery rate of an opioid is sometimes 3 to 5%. That's about the statistic of a 10-year sobriety. That's kind of off the board with a lot of alcoholism. Why? Why is that? Why would someone be pushed so hard to turmoil? And someone who's struggled with lots of addictions myself, and other problems in my life, it's because theory sounds great until you got to walk the walk.
Application.
Application is tough. And this is application. I got something I got to do for BNI tonight. After I leave here, I got a meeting on the Air Force Base for an hour and a half. Then I got 2 more patients after that. I got to go home, eat, and I got to do this. I don't want to do it, but I got to do it because I'm the next president of my BNI. And that's showing up. That's just showing up. And if we sat down, this is one of my favorite things to think about. Forget alive now. Imagine if we sat down all of our role models who ever lived. Anyone. Religious, politics, whoever it is. They all have very similar tactics.
They're doers.
They're doers. They do it. They're not, no matter what anyone thinks about Jocko's another great one.
He's a doer.
Jocko's like, I don't wake up before the morning and think Joe Rogan.
Guys.
It's so easy to look at Joe Rogan and think this. Oh, he's got it so easy. He just turns the camera on.
He was
what?
a stand-up comedian.
For-
He was doing Fear Factor.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
about that.
How about this? Traveling and watching UFC fights. UFC fights, last time I checked, they end late.
I
They
lost
also
track
got
of
to-
him for a while
Oh, yeah.
because
and
I
then
mean,
they go into dinner afterwards, and then he's got
Yeah.
to have a podcast in the morning, and then he's working out and kicking the bag. I don't know if you ever seen him kick the bag. It's
Yeah.
scary.
I mean, dude's a beast.
These
Honestly.
are and these are doers. Like when you look and really read Oprah's story, it's mind blowing. Mother
everybody
got
said
pregnant.
no. Yeah.
Mother got pregnant with her when she was 13. Then Oprah made this. She got pregnant at 13, had a miscarriage.
Wow.
She was sexually abused by multiple family members. Everyone told her she wouldn't do it. And she turned this. And look, don't get me wrong, luck, timing, that's all part of it majorly. But you also can set yourself up for that or you don't.
Mhm.
And then the rest kind of just goes because you never know when you're going to land that.
She never stopped.
You know, you might meet someone in the restaurant and then that person, you talk to them. Oh, what do you do? You're sitting in the lobby, right? It's real packed. I'm an auto broker. And they say, oh, you know what? We're looking for 5 brand new cars for our bid. You just don't know. So that's where the luck comes in because you don't know. That's just life and the universe and everything just randomly happening.
And everybody's got a spine.
Yeah, exactly. And education is key. And I think the other thing that is the hardest to apply, and this is the basis of Stoicism, is at least the hardest thing for me to apply, is realizing that you don't need anything else in your life. But that doesn't mean you don't pursue goals, but you don't need those for any sort of conditional happiness. So like if you
Sounds like
never
you're talking about gratitude.
if you never grew ever again,
Mhm.
if your business even downsized, you could still be completely content. But it doesn't mean you don't want to still push forward.
Yeah.
But that's not how everyone works. Everyone works like close a deal, the next deal, close a deal, the next one. And they never enjoy anything. It's just the rat race. The rat race doesn't come from hard work. The rat race comes from not having contentment with what you have now.
That's
And
pretty
that's
deep there, Mr. Pannella.
That's Stoicism in a nutshell. Marcus Aurelius is negative visualization. I use this on a daily basis. It's in the book Meditations. He says, I wake up every day and I say these words to myself. I'm going to deal with people, Emperor of Rome, who are rude, mean, cruel, selfish, hate me. But that's part of who I am. And I have to deal with that because I'm the Emperor of Rome. That's what it's going to
I
have
heard
to happen.
this guy say that somewhat. He was like the CFO or CEO. He had like 4 daughters at home. And they said every day in his driveway, he said to himself before he got out of the car, let go of your need to be right. Let go of your need to be right. Let go of your need. Then you get out the car and walk in the house and say, hey, everybody.
How many people do you know that say on a daily basis, I'm sorry or I'm wrong? Not compulsively, but they actually say, maybe that was
And mean it.
and mean it.
Yeah.
That took me, Taze, years of practice of daily assignments. Another thing about Stoicism is life assignments that you give to yourself. How do you put yourself in situations where you can learn from hardship? Jim Rohn, another one of my favorite speakers, Tony Robbins' mentor. He goes, it's been like this for 6,000 years. Hardship mixed with opportunity. Hardship mixed with opportunity.
Rohn's a good one.
Oh, God, I listen to Ron every day with his weird eyes when he's speaking. It's like looking at you like this.
I hope you guys are picking up these nuggets. This guy's a true inspiration as a younger guy in our community here. And I just wanted, this story's great.
Can I have one more thing real quick?
Advice? Another advice thing?
For
One more
younger,
advice thing.
For younger, because I do think this is important. Try working and accepting that your friends are probably not going to be your age.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah. Like the people I hang out with who are my age have dramatically gone down. I mean, because most of them just don't have the drive or ambition. And like we were talking about like luck and timing earlier. Like, what would you say about pride as a person? Like, because I know like for me, like my biggest issue with especially just even getting started here at Auto Search was getting my pride out of the way and realizing that, you know, sometimes it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do everything on your own.
Pride and ego can be beneficial, but can also be super detrimental depending on how it's used. To say that no one has any ego is not real. I think ego is instilled in human neurology. I think even Buddhist monks have egos to a small, they use it. They operate on very small. But ego can have benefits to it. Speaking in confidence, speaking in a straight manner, part of the ego. Do I think that if it's gone the other way, where, as we talk about, and I agree with you fully, do I agree with at all? I agree 0% how Gary Vaynerchuk talks on stage and how he gets his message across. I don't.
It's not my favorite, but I like the guy.
If you take,
But it's too much.
it's too much.
Yeah.
And does it work for him? Of course. He's
Yeah.
built a $400 million business. I would be ignorant to say it doesn't work.
It's working for
But
him.
it's not the way how I like to do it, because when the way I look at it is, for my philosophy is, you can't convince anyone of anything. So once you lose the need to convince, you have internal peace, because whether they listen to you or not,
You're still fine.
it's not even that. It's when you're confident, right? When the ego gets involved, you're like, I crushed that deal. You don't know that. That person could walk out of there. They're a separate human.
You know
They
what?
might
That
walk
is
out
so valuable.
They'll walk out and say, oh, yeah, didn't like Bonnie. Where in Bonnie's mind, she went to you in the office, right? Bonnie says, I killed that deal. That was a good one.
That's
then
exactly how I
They
would.
met, I could totally see Bonnie do that. Cracks and jumping around.
I've seen her get excited.
But like, think about that, because that's the story, the perspective you told yourself. You have no idea what that person's thinking. That whole time they could be thinking this. Did I leave the stove on?
Yeah.
Like you don't know.
Yeah.
So once you learn that you lose that internal need to prove, pride, ego, you can moderate pride and ego through stoicism, how I practice. This is why it's important to realize that.
I'd like to add something to it. Like, so, but when you know you're talking, like in our profession, those two things are important, but also when you know you're doing right by the person, when you know, like I've assessed the situation, this is the right solution. No fear. There's no fear. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
I want the deal, but if it doesn't work out, I know I did right by you. And that's what we talk about a lot around here.
Yeah.
You know?
Marcus Aurelius is, again, going back to meditation, which I recommend all three of you read. Small book. It's like this big. It wasn't made to be a book. It was his personal journal that they took and published after he died. And one of his favorite quotes, if you just type in Google Marcus Aurelius quotes, I guarantee it comes up. It said, no more talking about being a good man, period, be one.
Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all said that in the hood.
That's the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I talked a huge game because I've naturally been a big talker. And I had to take a real self-assessment about myself and say, I'm not actually doing what I talk about. So I stopped talking about it unless I'm on podcasts or doing it. And that was so uncomfortable because we all like to shit. Hey man, this is what I did today. Like you want to like talk to people, but you don't need to do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
They say that the people with high ambition but low work ethic create an envy.
Oh.
They want it. They talk a lot about
Yeah.
being really big.
Yeah.
But then when it's time to go Grubhub, time to go work at where did you work?
Red Robin.
Red Robin.
YouTube channel.
I really don't want to be a chiropractor that bad anyhow if it doesn't work out.
How about the look on their face?
And those guys over there are lucky because they had a practice that someone gave them.
This little kids. Kids at Red Robin. We're talking about like 16-year-olds.
Yeah. And there's Nick.
They're like, why?
I'm a chiropractor, guys.
What do you do? And I would laugh and say something along the lines of, well, if you want to own a business one day and you don't raise capital, you'll see. That's what I would just say.
I'll share with you guys out there. There was this Grubhub guy. I went to Panda to pick up food during the pandemic. And we talked about this. There's a lot of Grubhub going on. We just happened to pull in there picking up food. And this old beat up car backed in, and this guy got up with his DoorDash bag and was going in. And okay, he's going to do DoorDash.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there and I was waiting. And I looked and I saw his car and it said a sticker on it. It said, socialism sucks.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get out and shake that guy's hand. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the guy we need.
Yeah.
Like he's like, whatever, dude, let's go get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
It's unfortunate. This is a talk for another time, and I think this would be good to get all of us involved. Just all different belief systems about like business and money, like in monetary policies, because we all have different beliefs and we probably have very similar. But that is something that I never could live by. Like about that, it's not about. Do I think that socialism would be like from a monetary policy for business the best thing? Sure, it would be great if the government gave everyone $200,000 a year. But let's be real, it's not good for ambition and it's not good for drive.
And it's not good for inflation. Like
gas
gas
is a totally different topic. Did we know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, when people take care of you, look at. Unfortunately, my father was like this. Look at, I had a mother who wasn't. I had a stern Brooklyn, Staten Island mother. Who I just said last night, I'm so happy I hated you at 17 because now I love you.
We all tend to appreciate our parents later.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And she was, she told me a story. This was last night. She said, I remember you were smoking cigarettes And one of your good friends, who's also very much of a troublemaker like you, the mom was like, I let him do what he wants. And my mom said, the heck I'm letting him do what he wants. I'm his parent. I'm not his friend.
Yeah.
And I think that was a conditioned belief I didn't even realize was brewing. That's how I was raised. I was raised very much in that, and I was given everything as well. I came with a good background. My father was an attorney, and I could have very easily swung into victimhood, into all that. And then when I started hanging out with those people, which we all know them, I'm looking at them and I'm like, I don't belong in this crowd.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are talking about things that I wouldn't even cross my radar. Like, I don't care about that. Like, how can I help other people?
You're right. That's a whole nother podcast.
It's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted that out, and then a couple of lessons you learned along the way. We've been going. What time is it?
2:50.
2:50. So we've been going 50 minutes. We don't get any other comments. That doctor didn't follow up, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just good to come in here and talk and have perspectives.
So what did any major, like, 2 lessons you've learned along the way so far that you want to share with the world?
2 major lessons along the way. Could that be about anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Relationships, marriage, like business, is compromise. It's about compromise.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do what you want to do. The idea of going into business and thinking you want to do what you want to do is wrong. But the idea that you think you're going to get married and do what you want to do is wrong. That's why divorces are happening, because it's about, Erica says something to me, we have a business and a personal relationship.
Yeah, you got both going on.
We got both. And she said to me the other night, we were kind of like in a little bit of a, voices raising a little. And she said, just like this, wife hat off, business hat on. Wow. That's not okay.
You forgot you were in the boardroom.
She was sitting on the stairs, so she was elevated above me, and I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
But she was right. She was right. And I've gotten so good at this from years of practice, admitting when you're wrong. Yeah. Admitting when you're wrong and taking a serious evaluation. Journaling once a week. I got that from Jim Rohn. Well, I journal a lot, but at the end of a week or the end of a quarter or a month, sitting down and saying, what could I have done better? Not beat yourself up, not self-downing and self-pity, but hey, I made great progress, but what could I do that maybe would have been a little bit better or a little bit more, just would have given me a little bit better result? How did my ego and pride take over too much?
Yeah.
And that's a big one. The other lesson is track your numbers. Yeah. The end. Track your numbers.
Track your numbers.
I got people talking to me, I don't understand why this is this and this is that. I said, because you don't know how much money you make. And you don't take the money out. Like every morning, I take the taxes out. I do it every day, 5 days a week when the bank is open. I set it up. My CPA loves me. I send her my Excel spreadsheets. You know how much money that saves me? Over a 50-year career?
Yeah.
A lot. She goes, I don't do anything. You did it all for me. Why do you even do this? I said, because it's a 3-second habit, 3-minute habit, once a day. So 15 minutes, 20 tops. Something weird's going on. 20 minutes, 80 minutes a month, times 12 to give me X amount money back. And on top of that, I get to learn how to manage my own money.
Yeah, you'll probably get tired of it and turn it completely over one day.
I know what, though? Erica said the same thing. I don't think so.
Okay.
I love it. I don't like math, but I like money and I like profit. So I like seeing, this is how much we profited today. What's that percentage of a year ago? Like I was looking back 12 months. I was like, I thought I was killing it there. I'm sure everyone who's in business, they look back and they're like, yeah, I made $95 million this year. And when I was making $500,000, I thought I was on top of the world.
Oh, life is probably a lot easier.
Yeah. Ending on this, real quick, we all think that, right? Yeah. Until you meet people with bigger problems.
Well, yeah, of course.
Bigger overhead, more employees, more macro managers.
More zeros.
More zeros can mean not more problems. It's just more that you can do, which is now more on your plate. Maybe you got 20 rental properties now and your property manager's calling you a little bit more, right? And you got to make time for that. Maybe you don't have one Bonnie and Marcus. You got 100 Bonnie and Marcuses. And now the 3 Bonnies get together and then they're talking behind your back because you're doing something wrong. Now you got
doing it now.
Problems.
They're doing it now.
They're doing it
just
now.
tell you straight out.
That's actually right. They tell me to my face. Yeah. I like that about them.
But I think these conversations are a lot of fun because I think that there's nothing better than talking to people from different backgrounds. What I get to do in my coaching business on a daily basis and talking to people and realizing how lucky you are. Like when I speak to people in the Nordic countries, which I do weekly, and they're like, we're still primarily on lockdown a lot. I'm like, say what?
That's crazy.
I was like, what do you mean? My friend just went back to work. She lives in Hamburg, Germany. met her through the coaching business too. They just went back.
Wow, that's crazy.
If you need to get a hold of Nick for adjustment or business savvy, there's his phone number.
Yeah, hold on, real quick testimonial for Axon Health.
Oh, appreciate it.
After my accident in May, Erica's in my BNI group. She adjusts me and my fiance all the time. Significant improvement in not only my mobility, but just how I'm feeling in general. Cannot recommend Axon Health enough. These guys are incredible. Definitely check them out if you need some adjustments.
I agree with
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got anything, Bonnie? Wow.
No.
I love speaking to Bonnie, by the way. Bonnie is this is my perception of Bonnie. Bonnie is very analytical. I could see it. And Bonnie's just great to talk to. She's great to talk to. Yeah, well, she's a great listener. Where that's the up. Can we add the third lesson? We'll work on listening. If you're not good at
Right,
that ties into the first one, admitting that you're wrong. You know?
Good.
So and that's
Bonnie's a great listener.
She's a great listener, and it's good to speak to people from different backgrounds and different beliefs, because the world we live in right now, no matter what it is, maybe the religious context, people think they can't be friends anymore. Like, oh, you're a Christian and you're Muslim, we can't be friends. Well, it's not even about anymore. It's about like respecting the other person and be willing to learn anything. Ray Dalio, radical open-mindedness is the way of life.
Love it. All right.
That's interesting.
awesome.
I don't even think of myself as open-minded, but my best friend, we disagree on everything. But I value her. I value the relationship more than I value being
acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement.
Right.
We can disagree, and I can accept you as the value of a human.
We need to find a solution.
That's not acceptance. Means agreement.
At some point you have to either you're going to be right or you're going to find a solution.
Exactly.
You can be right and still
no
go nowhere.
Yeah, these talks are amazing. It always brings me back to thinking about how it was in like the early Stoicism times when Epictetus was a freed slave, and he was like, giving these talks as a freed slave to Marcus Aurelius and his father, and they all were just sitting there like scribbling on these notepads with, and everyone was just there just talking about existence and life. And now today, unfortunately, many people are caught in superficial talks about what clothing are you wearing, what vacation are you going on. People plan more for their vacation than they do their career. It's a weird thing. It's weird. Philosophy has changed my life forever. So that's a fact.
If you need this guy to speak on your podcast, he's got a lot more. Thank you for joining us. If you got questions,
I appreciate it.
Drop it in the comments. If you need to reach out to him. And thank you for joining us, guys. We knew this guy would bring the energy. We knew it would be a lot. We tried to contain it, but it is what it is. You can't contain Nick.
Yeah. It's good that now I'm gonna have you come on our podcast.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
Yeah. I don't know
if I can bring that kind of energy. I'll do the best I can.
Could you imagine how funny this would be? Hey guys, we usually don't talk about health. Wrong. We're talking about cars today. That would be so funny, but also awesome.
Let's do it.
That's great.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Awesome.
Let us know if we can help you.
See ya.
Yeah,